Let's get it on.
I top Billin. So we meet again. Here we go, right? Draft day. And look at this right here. So I got to talk to my Seattle Seahawks fan base right here because this is hard, right? Jalen Carter says that my Philadelphia Eagles will take him number 10 if he's there. So it's looking like he's got some type of assurance, as he said right here. He said, yes, sir. If whether he's gotten a promise from the Eagles that they'll take him at number 10, he said, yes, sir. So it's looking like he won't drop out of the top 10. Obviously, a team could tell somebody anything. They don't owe Jalen Carter anything. He could very well be passed up by the Philadelphia Eagles, too, if he were to get there. Hopefully that wouldn't be the case for your boy right here because I've been chomping at the bit. And I know you remember when I did that content item where I said, please pass on Jalen Carter so my Eagles can take him and beat that ass. I want this shit to happen so bad. You do not understand. But listen, this is what I want to know from Seattle fans. I don't want to know who you think they will take. I want to know who you want them to take. Do you want Jalen Carter at number 5? Interestingly enough, your man Richard Sherman has something to say about that.
I still think they got to go defense in this number 5 pick. I think they have to go defense. Whether it's Jalen Carter, I mean, can you have too many interior D linemen that are great? No, you can't. I don't think Devin Witherspoon will be there. I don't think Christian Gonzalez will be there. Hodges might be there. Keely Ringo should still be there. But if they want to go that direction, or if they want to go pass rush again, go pass rush twice. He can never have enough of them because that's such a glaring weakness for him.
All right, real quick, I'm going to have to push back against that. On the second part of when he was talking about after Jalen Carter, when he mentioned Witherspoon, he was talking about that second pick in the first round. And he said that going pass rush again because it's such a glaring weakness. What Seattle Seahawks team did he watch last year, right? And covering this team, that was the last thing I thought of right there. I was like, man, soft as hell against the run, but the mama jumpers can rush the passer, right? Now, if you want to be like the Eagles, yeah, good luck with that, right? 70 sacks last year from my Eagles, right? But listen, Seattle was no patsy. What is this? 1, 2. They had 45 sacks, which tied them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It tied them for 7th in the NFL, 45 sacks. Now, could they have more? Yeah, they can have more, but it can't be a glaring weakness. 45 sacks? Come on, man. And you returned the top 2 guys who were your sack artists, and you brought in some other guys. I don't think is a glaring weakness for them at all. But like he said, though, in that other part, you can never have too many interior defensive linemen who can get after. Those are the guys that you can rotate. You keep rotating edge players, you're taking guys out of rhythm. The reason why Philly had that many sacks, they allowed Josh Sweat and these guys to get into a groove. They allow Hassan Reddick, these guys to get into a groove. You keep rotating edge players, that's a rhythm thing, right? That's a feeling and timing thing. You can't be rotating the edge player every other play or something like that. All right, but get back to it.
There are huge question marks after Geno Smith's contract's over. Obviously, he's not a young buck anymore. I know he had played his eyes off.
You don't reach, Mitchell. You don't reach. You don't reach early. You need an impact player right now. You want to go to the playoffs again. You want to make that kind of impact again. You don't reach in the draft.
Now, listen, I don't know anything about Richard Sherman's podcast. I just ran across this John in talking about Jalen Carter here. I'm supposed to be talking about Jalen Carter, but this caught my eye right here. Richard Sherman echoed exactly what I've been saying, right? You don't reach for a quarterback at number 5 right now. You have Geno Smith. I don't know what old boy was talking about, but he must be one of the commenters on my channel, right? Listen, and I love how people, how some clown come there and say that, oh, nobody in the world wants them to take a quarterback at number 5, Cletus. Yeah. This guy was intimating that on his own podcast. But listen, beyond that, people are making fun of Green Bay for getting rid of a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Straight up. Geno Smith's just 32 years old. Man, I don't want to talk about this shit no more. Let's move on.
Jalen Carter out of Georgia. Obviously, this guy going in to this year was viewed at 1A or 1B. Him and Will Anderson, top dogs on defense. Character is the question with Jalen. He has a serious issue. Let's not let's not make light of it. The situation he went through in January after they won the national title game, resulting in speeding and an unfortunate death of a couple folks on his team, and obviously that leaves him in a serious tough situation mentally. How much of a concern would it be for you to draft him as a GM? Would you have any worries?
Yeah, you got a lot of worries. He was the consensus #1 pick for majority of the year. And when you know that, Mitchell, I mean, not saying you got to wrap your life in saran wrap and bubble wrap, but you got to be close. Like, if you racing on the opposite side of traffic at 100 miles an hour and you knew you were the #1 pick, Mitchell, they need to study your brain, because that is what insanity looks like. And so 100% there are question marks. But this is a National Football League, Mitchell, and I'm sorry if I seem crazy, because they will overlook it if the man can play the game. And the man can play the game. So there will need to be an incredible structure around this young man. You cannot let him just, hey, he's going to be a pro and leave him to his own vices. You can't. You got to structure. Hey, it may be somebody living right next to him. You may have to have somebody live with him. Hey, you got meetings. Wake up, get to meetings. Like, babysit this kid, because it's insane to think a kid with the understanding, I'm going #1, would make those decisions, especially you just won a national championship. Everything in your life is going great. Now, if things were going bad, maybe a tragic incident, somebody passed away unexpectedly, mental process, a lot of things on your mind, a lot of things. There's certain things you would understand about that situation. Hey, he's going through a hard time. Everybody's been through a hard time. Your brain isn't functioning totally correct when you're going. He was in awesome times. These were the best of times. And he's making decisions like that. So that leaves a lot of questions. So I'm speaking more about the talent of the human being, a guy who should have gone #1. If people were saying he's falling out of the top 10, I mean, if he falls out of the top 10, it'll say more about how far the league has come, because that's not always been this league's MO of, hey, guy's character is questionable, but his play is outstanding. They always have those charts. Like, hey, does the talent outweigh the concern? Which one? Are you willing to risk your job on it? Which GM is willing to put their stamp on it and change their franchise? And then his pro day was disappointing. Like, you can't have all these question marks and then have a pro day like that. Like, were you tired? You out of shape? Not you.
Yeah. It's the biggest meeting of his life, right? I mean, this is the biggest job interview of his life. And that was concerning. But Richard, we've seen it year after year. I seen it, like Lyle Collins goes undrafted. Laramie Tunsil slips 12, 13 spots, was considered a top 3 pick just because a gas mask weed bong came out which is 5 minutes before the draft.
A crazy setup.
So there was some good stuff in that exchange right there, and there was a lot of shit that didn't make any sense to me. You got Richard Sherman talking about, he knew he was going #1 and everything was going good. He could excuse it if things were going bad and he wasn't the #1 overall selection, or he was a second-round pick or something like that. Come on, man. That don't make any sense. It's either a bad decision or not, right? It's either bad character or not. One thing that we must focus on is everyone has a chance to grow. So I'm glad the cat pointed out at the end that people had questions about Lyle Collins coming out. People had questions about Laramie Tunsil coming out. And we haven't heard a peep from those guys, right? He said Laramie Tunsil is the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history now. It can happen. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm not saying it won't happen. It can happen. We have to always focus on that. I feel like a lot of times when people are talking about young black males, they write them off, or they make them be who they will be 30 years from now, 20 years from now, 10 years from now. We never have a chance to grow. We're either perfect or we're imperfect. There's no two ways about it. So as far as Richard Sherman goes, he's talking about a guy who did this and he's 20, 21 years old or something like that. Now listen, I can't rock with hypocrisy. This was pretty disturbing by Richard Sherman, right? He avoided jail time in a plea deal on domestic violence charges. I don't play with domestic violence. You put your hand on women, to me, you a straight up coward. You put your hand on a woman, but you ain't put your hand on Trent Williams.
Hey, what you gonna do, boy? I'm gonna punch you in your. Hey, do it then, boy.
When he punched you in your face, right? You let that go. So, you know what I'm saying? You talk about driving 100 miles per hour at 21 years old or whatever like that, having fun with your friends. It's a horrible situation, no doubt about that, but not one that he can't overcome. But this happened for Richard Sherman in 2022, right? So pretty much a year ago. How the fuck old was Richard Sherman then? Right? Richard Sherman was like 35 years old or something like that. Like, come on, man. What are we doing here? You can't be doing that. Look, it says Sherman, a free agent, was arrested on July 14th after he allegedly crashed his car into a construction barrier and tried to break into his in-laws' home in Seattle. You gotta be careful what you're talking about, man. You gotta be careful what you're talking about on the internet if you have skeletons in your closet as well. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure Richard Sherman is a good guy. I'm pretty sure he can overcome. He has overcome that situation that he was involved in there. Just like I could believe that someone like Jalen Carter can overcome that as well. So, I don't know. We shall see. But you guys have to let me know. With that being said, do you want Jalen Carter or do you want him to go to number 10 to my Philadelphia Eagles, baby? Let me know. All right, let's talk about it. Your boy Mid-Atlantic Murf.
What more can I say?
Top Billin.